Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English podcast.
One rule to improve your English. Learn English through podcast. Learning English is one of the most valuable skills you can develop as a young person today, and the most powerful rule to improve your English, especially if you want to learn efficiently, confidently, and naturally, is to immerse yourself in the language every single day using podcasts. Because podcasts are unlike any traditional classroom method, unlike textbooks, and unlike passive listening, because they allow you to hear real English spoken naturally by native speakers, by experts, by storytellers, by people who are passionate about what they talk about. And when you listen actively and consistently, your brain starts to recognize patterns in pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm that no other method can teach you. And the rule is simple. Listen every day without fail, even if it is just one episode, even if it is only 10 minutes, because consistency beats intensity. And when you make English listening a habit, your comprehension, vocabulary, and confidence grow almost automatically. And young learners must understand that English is not something you can learn by memorizing lists of words or forcing yourself to sit for hours reading grammar books. Because real English is alive, it moves, it changes, it sounds different depending on the speaker, the region, the context. And podcasts give you this living English in a way that is both natural and enjoyable. So the key rule is to make listening a daily habit, to integrate it into your routine. For example, while walking to school, riding a bus, exercising, doing chores, or even relaxing before sleep, because every moment you expose yourself to English is a moment your brain is learning subconsciously. And the beauty of podcasts is that they come in all levels, from beginner to advanced, so no matter where you start, you can always find content that matches your current ability, and you can gradually increase the difficulty over time. And when you listen to beginner podcasts, you focus on understanding basic sentences, phrases, and vocabulary, repeating what you hear out loud, mimicking the speakers, and slowly your brain starts connecting sounds with words, which is much faster than reading, writing, or memorizing. And when you move on to intermediate and advanced podcasts, you are challenged with faster speech, new idioms, phrasal verbs, complex grammar, and cultural expressions, which teaches you how English is actually used in real life. And one of the most important parts of this rule is active listening, which means you do not just let the podcast play in the background while scrolling on your phone or doing other activities, but you actually focus, pause, rewind, repeat, and even take notes, because active engagement accelerates learning. And if you combine this with shadowing, which is repeating what the speaker says out loud as accurately as possible, your pronunciation, accent, and confidence skyrocket. And I want every young learner to understand that speaking fluently does not come from memorizing grammar rules alone. It comes from listening and practicing, from hearing how words are connected in real speech, from noticing how native speakers emphasize certain words, how they pause, how they intonate. And podcasts are perfect for this because they are designed for natural speech, for stories, for interviews, for conversation, for debate. And as you listen, your brain starts storing these patterns subconsciously. So the next time you speak, your sentences become more natural, your accent becomes smoother, and your vocabulary is richer. And this is why the rule of daily podcast listening is so powerful, because you are essentially learning from real people, real situations, and real English. And the more you listen, the faster your brain adapts to the language. And even if you do not understand every single word at first, it is okay, because understanding comes gradually, and your brain fills in the gaps naturally over time. And this is why beginners should not give up if they feel confused at first, because the key is to listen every day without fail, even if you only understand 30% of what is being said, because that 30% is enough for your brain to start absorbing sentence structures, vocabulary, and pronunciation subconsciously. And over weeks and months, that 30% grows into 60%, 80%, and eventually 100%. And the beauty of podcasts is that they are always on demand, so you can choose the topic you love, whether it's sports, music, travel, science, technology, entrepreneurship, or even storytelling. Because when you are interested in the topic, your brain pays more attention, you enjoy learning, and you retain more information. And the most motivated learners are those who combine interest with consistency, which is exactly why this one rule works better than any complicated method, because it turns learning into a habit, into a lifestyle, into something you actually enjoy rather than a chore. And young learners should also know that podcasts are portable, lightweight, and flexible, which means you can carry your classroom in your pocket, in your headphones, and in your bag, and you can learn English anytime, anywhere, without feeling trapped in a classroom. And technology allows you to replay difficult sections, slow down the speed, speed up the audio, read transcripts, highlight vocabulary, and even connect with the speakers or communities for discussion. And this makes your learning more interactive, more fun, and more effective than any textbook could ever be. And another important tip within this rule is to combine listening with speaking and writing, because listening alone is powerful, but if you also repeat sentences, record yourself, summarize episodes, or write short reflections in English, you are reinforcing your brain's connection between listening, understanding, and producing language, which is the real path to fluency. And the beauty of podcasts is that they often include conversations, interviews, and real dialogues, so you are learning not only vocabulary and grammar, but also culture, idiomatic expressions, humor, emotions, and the way English is used in everyday life, which is something textbooks rarely provide. And young learners should focus not just on understanding every word, but on understanding the message, the context, the emotion, and the intention, because that is how real communication happens. And this is exactly why podcasts are superior to traditional methods, because language is not just about words, it's about communication, expression, connection. And podcasts teach all of this while being accessible, affordable, and enjoyable. And if you want to take this rule further, you can create a schedule. For example, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, or one full episode per day. And you can even track your progress, write down new words, repeat tricky sentences, and notice how much easier it becomes after just a few weeks. And this daily practice also builds discipline, patience, and consistency, which are essential not only for English, but for all learning and success in life. And another secret young learners should know is that the more you listen, the more your accent improves naturally, because your brain starts mimicking native pronunciation, intonation, and flow. And even if you have never had a conversation in English before, your speaking will sound more natural just by listening and repeating, which is exactly what children do when they learn their first language. And podcasts allow you to do this in a structured, intentional, and focused way, unlike random TV shows or movies. And you can also choose podcasts with transcripts, which is another advantage, because reading along while listening reinforces vocabulary, spelling, grammar, and comprehension simultaneously. And some learners even pause the audio to write down difficult sentences, look up words, and then replay the section until it becomes clear, which dramatically accelerates learning. And the more effort you combine with listening, the more results you see, which is why this one rule is so simple yet incredibly powerful. Listen every day, focus actively, repeat consistently, and engage with the material fully, because this is the fastest way to internalize English, to build fluency, and to gain confidence. And the best part is that podcasts cover virtually every level, style, and interest, from slow beginner stories to conversation practice to advanced debates and professional interviews, so you can progress step by step without feeling bored or overwhelmed. And young learners should know that the key to success is to never skip a day, even if it is only 10 minutes, because daily exposure compounds over time. And what feels small today becomes huge progress tomorrow. And over months, you'll notice your comprehension improving, your ability to think in English growing, your vocabulary expanding, and your confidence skyrocketing. And this is why I call it the ultimate rule, because it doesn't require expensive tutors, fancy schools, complicated methods. It only requires consistency, focus, and the willingness to listen every day. And when you combine podcasts with speaking, writing, shadowing, note-taking, and reviewing, you create a complete learning loop that trains your ears, mouth, brain, and memory simultaneously, which is exactly what fluency requires. And if you stick to this rule for a year, even if you're a complete beginner, you will be amazed at how much you can understand, how naturally you can speak, and how confidently you can communicate. And the truth is that this rule works because it is simple, enjoyable, and natural. It follows the way humans learn languages. It uses modern technology in the most effective way, and it empowers young learners to take control of their own progress, to turn their free time into learning time, and to become fluent step by step, episode by episode, without pressure, without stress, and without feeling overwhelmed. Because the focus is not perfection, the focus is daily practice, immersion, and active listening. And the more you stick to this rule, the more English becomes part of your life, part of your habits, part of your identity, and eventually, part of who you are. And when that happens, learning English is no longer a challenge. It becomes a natural part of your day, a joy, a skill that opens doors to opportunities, friendships, education, travel, and success. And this is why every young learner who wants to improve English should take this rule seriously, because it is simple, it is proven, and it works. And the technology is there, waiting for you, with thousands of podcasts on every topic imaginable. And your only job is to press play every day, focus on listening, repeat what you hear, shadow the speakers, take notes, and gradually increase your level. And if you do that, your English will improve faster than you ever imagined, and the confidence, fluency, and understanding you gain will last a lifetime. Because this is not about temporary study. It is about building a habit, a skill, and a mindset that will stay with you forever. And if you followed this one rule, young learners, you will truly transform your English, your mindset, and your opportunities. Because learning through podcasts is more than just listening. It is experiencing English, thinking in English, feeling English, and living English. And that is exactly what makes this rule the ultimate key to fluency and success.
Once you understand that the key to improving your English is consistent, daily exposure through podcasts, it becomes clear that the way you approach listening can make a huge difference, because it is not just about pressing play and letting the words flow over you, but about engaging your mind fully, focusing on the meaning, noticing new words, repeating phrases, and trying to mimic the speaker's intonation, tone, and rhythm. Because this active engagement transforms passive listening into a highly effective learning tool. And young learners should realize that while grammar rules, textbooks, and traditional lessons have their place, nothing compares to the real, natural speech that podcasts provide. Because English is not a collection of isolated words or rules, it is a living, breathing language that moves with emotion, culture, expression, and context. And podcasts give you access to that living language in a way that is flexible, portable, and perfectly suited for the busy life of a young learner. So the rule becomes not just a suggestion, but a lifestyle. Listen, repeat, and immerse yourself every day without fail. Because consistency compounds, and what you do today, even for a few minutes, contributes to your fluency tomorrow. And the beauty of podcasts is that they can be tailored to your level and your interests, which keeps you motivated. Because motivation is one of the biggest challenges for young learners. And when you are motivated, learning becomes natural, enjoyable, and effortless. And you begin to notice changes in yourself without even realizing it. For example, your comprehension improves when you hear English in different accents. Your vocabulary grows when you encounter new words repeatedly. And your pronunciation improves when you mimic speakers consistently. And if you combine listening with shadowing, you will notice a dramatic improvement. Because shadowing forces you to speak at the same pace and intonation as the speaker, which trains your mouth, tongue, and brain simultaneously, making your speech more fluent, more natural, and more confident. And even if you are too shy to speak to other people initially, shadowing and repeating out loud builds your confidence gradually, so that when you eventually speak to someone in English, you feel more prepared, more natural, and more capable. And young learners should understand that confidence is just as important as vocabulary and grammar, because without confidence, fluency cannot be achieved, but with confidence, built through consistent listening and practice, everything else falls into place. And one of the most exciting things about podcasts is that they expose you to real conversations, real situations, and authentic expressions. So you are learning not just words, but context, idioms, phrasal verbs, slang, emotion, humor, and cultural references, all of which make your English sound more natural, more human, and more authentic. And this is something that textbooks rarely provide, because textbooks often focus on rules, structure, and isolated vocabulary, but English is not learned through rules alone. It is learned through experience, observation, and repetition. And podcasts give you all of that in an engaging, accessible, and highly effective format, which is why they are the ultimate tool for young learners who are serious about improvement. And as you follow this one rule, you will start noticing small changes first. For example, understanding a sentence in a podcast without needing to pause, recognizing a new word and knowing its meaning without checking the dictionary, repeating a phrase exactly like the speaker. And after weeks and months of daily listening, these small victories add up, and suddenly, you realize that your listening comprehension is far stronger, your vocabulary is broader, your pronunciation is sharper, and your ability to think in English is growing. And these are exactly the skills that create fluent speakers, because fluency is not just about speaking quickly, it is about understanding naturally, thinking naturally, and expressing yourself naturally. And podcasts train all of these skills simultaneously. And this is why the one rule is so powerful. It is simple, it is clear, and it works if you follow it consistently. And young learners should also understand that podcasts offer flexibility, because you can listen at your own pace, choose the length of episodes that fits your schedule, pause when needed, rewind difficult sections, replay favorite parts, and even combine listening with reading transcripts to reinforce learning. And this flexibility makes it easy to integrate English practice into your daily routine without feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or bored. And when learning becomes a part of your daily routine, it stops feeling like a task and starts feeling like a natural, enjoyable habit. And habits are the foundation of long-term success in any skill, because it is what you do consistently, not occasionally, that determines your level of mastery. And this is why young learners must embrace the one rule. Listen every day, immerse yourself fully, repeat consistently, and engage actively, because this habit will compound over time, transforming your English abilities from beginner to advanced, from hesitant to confident, and from slow to fluent. And even if you start as a complete beginner, this rule works, because podcasts are designed for all levels, with slow, clear episodes for starters, intermediate discussions for growing learners, and advanced conversations for those pushing towards fluency. And the progression is natural, enjoyable, and motivating. And as you move from one level to the next, you experience tangible improvement, which fuels your motivation even more. And motivation is one of the most important factors for young learners, because when you are motivated, your brain absorbs information faster, retention improves, and learning feels less like work and more like exploration, adventure, and fun. And podcasts provide this excitement, because each episode is a story, a conversation, an interview, or an insight into a topic you love. And when you are emotionally engaged with the content, your brain remembers vocabulary, sentence structures, and pronunciation much more effectively. And this is why I encourage young learners to select podcasts that genuinely interest them, because curiosity and passion amplify learning. And when you combine that with the one rule of daily listening, the results are extraordinary because you are combining motivation, engagement, immersion, repetition, and active listening all at once, which is the perfect formula for rapid improvement. And the beauty of podcasts is also that they are accessible anywhere, anytime, which means your learning is not confined to classrooms or schedules. You can carry your English classroom in your pocket, in your headphones, and access it whenever you choose, whether walking to school, doing chores, exercising, or relaxing before bed. And this accessibility ensures that learning becomes a seamless part of your life, not an interruption. And as you listen daily, your comprehension strengthens, your vocabulary expands, your pronunciation improves, and most importantly, your confidence grows. Because confidence comes from familiarity, from practice, from repeated exposure to the language, and podcasts provide all of this in a convenient, enjoyable, and practical way. And young learners should understand that fluency is not instant, it is a journey. But by following this one rule, you are creating a clear, effective, and proven path toward mastery, because daily listening combined with active engagement, repetition, shadowing the speakers, taking notes, and immersing yourself fully forms a complete learning loop that strengthens listening, speaking, writing, and thinking in English simultaneously. And when you follow this routine consistently, fluency becomes inevitable because your brain internalizes sentence structures, pronunciation patterns, vocabulary, idioms, and expressions naturally, just as you learned your first language as a child. And the difference now is that podcasts give you a structured, enjoyable, and guided way to do this every single day. And as you progress, you will notice that English starts to feel less foreign, less difficult, and more like a natural part of your thoughts, your conversations, and your life. And this transformation is the ultimate reward for young learners who are willing to commit to the rule, because listening every day is not just a habit, it is a mindset, a lifestyle, and a skill that will serve you for life. And the more you listen, the more confident you become, the more fluent you sound, the more your vocabulary grows, and the easier it becomes to express yourself, understand others, and think in English. And this is exactly why I say there is one rule above all others for young learners who want to improve their English through podcasts. Make daily listening your priority, engage actively with every episode, repeat consistently, shadow the speakers, take notes, and immerse yourself fully. Because when you follow this rule, nothing else is needed to achieve remarkable improvement. And the impact goes beyond English, because the discipline, focus, patience, and consistency you develop from daily listening will help you in school, work, personal growth, and life in general. And this is the ultimate benefit of adopting the one rule, because you are not just learning English, you are training your mind, your habits, and your ability to master any skill in life. And podcasts give you all of this in an enjoyable, flexible, accessible, and modern way. And the longer you follow the rule, the more automatic your learning becomes, until eventually thinking, speaking, understanding, and communicating in English is no longer a struggle. It is natural, fluid, and effortless. And young learners should embrace this rule fully because it is simple, it is clear, and it works better than any complex method, any expensive course, or any memorization strategy, because real English is heard, experienced, practiced, and internalized through listening. And podcasts provide the perfect medium for this, allowing you to make remarkable progress every day, every week, every month, and over time, transform from a beginner to a confident, fluent English speaker, thinker, and communicator. And this is exactly why I say there is one rule above all others for young learners who want to improve their English through podcasts. Make daily listening your priority, engage actively with every episode, repeat consistently, shadow the speakers, take notes, and immerse yourself fully. Because when you follow this rule, nothing else is needed to achieve remarkable improvement. And the impact goes beyond English, because the discipline, focus, patience, and consistency you develop from daily listening will help you in school, work, personal growth, and life in general. And this is the ultimate benefit of adopting the one rule, because you are not just learning English, you are training your mind, your habits, and your ability to master any skill in life. And podcasts give you all of this in an enjoyable, flexible, accessible, and modern way. And the longer you follow the rule, the more automatic your learning becomes, until eventually thinking, speaking, understanding, and communicating in English is no longer a struggle. It is natural, fluid, and effortless. And young learners should embrace this rule fully, because it is simple, it is clear, and it works better than any complex method, any expensive course, or any memorization strategy, because real English is heard, experienced, practiced, and internalized through listening. And podcasts provide the perfect medium for this, allowing you to make remarkable progress every day, every week, every month, and over time transform from a beginner to a confident, fluent English speaker, thinker, and communicator. And this is exactly why I say there is one rule above all others for young learners who want to improve their English through podcasts. Listen every day, engage actively with every episode, repeat consistently, and immerse yourself fully through podcasts. Because when you follow this rule, nothing else is needed to achieve remarkable improvement. And the impact goes beyond English, because the discipline, focus, patience, and consistency you develop from daily listening will help you in school, work, personal growth, and life in general. And this is the ultimate benefit of adopting the one rule, because you are not just learning English, you are training your mind, your habits, and your ability to master any skill in life. And podcasts give you all of this in an enjoyable, flexible, accessible, and modern way. And the longer you follow the rule, the more automatic your learning becomes, until eventually thinking, speaking, understanding, and communicating in English is no longer a struggle. It is natural, fluid, and effortless. And young learners should embrace this rule fully, because it is simple, it is clear, and it works better than any complex method, any expensive course, or any memorization strategy. Because real English is heard, experienced, practiced, and internalized through listening. And podcasts provide the perfect medium for this, allowing you to make remarkable progress every day, every week, every month, and over time transform from a beginner to a confident, fluent English speaker, thinker, and communicator. And this is exactly why I say there is one rule above all others for young learners who want to improve their English through podcasts. Listen every day, engage actively with every episode, repeat consistently, and immerse yourself fully through podcasts. Because when you follow this rule, nothing else is needed to achieve remarkable improvement. And the impact goes beyond English, because the discipline, focus, patience, and consistency you develop from daily listening will help you in school, work, personal growth, and life in general. And this is the ultimate benefit of adopting the one rule, because you are not just learning English, you are training your mind, your habits, and your ability to master any skill in life. And podcasts give you all of this in an enjoyable, flexible, accessible, and modern way. And the longer you follow the rule, the more automatic your learning becomes, until eventually thinking, speaking, understanding, and communicating in English is no longer a struggle. It is natural, fluid, and effortless.